Hi, how are you guys doing today? We have another story we're going to read today, and this one is called Papi, How Many Stars Are in the Sky? Now, you remember that's the title of our story, and the person who's the author, or the one who wrote the story, their name is Angel Vigil, and the pictures are drawn by Adil Ahmed and Martin James. So this is Papi, How Many Stars Are in the Sky? Now, in this story, there's some Spanish in it, and I will let you know that I am not super wonderful at Spanish. I'm working on it, so I apologize if there's any of you who speak Spanish and I just kind of destroy it. So, here's the story, and as we go through, there's counting, and I would encourage the kids to count, and throughout the day, count things and talk about numbers and that sort of stuff. So, Papi, how many stars are in the sky? Whenever they visited their grandparents' farm, Ariana, Carlos, and Maria gathered after dinner to listen to their grandfather's stories. On warm nights, they sat out on the porch with grandfather rocking peacefully in his old wooden rocking chair. He always waited until dusk to begin stories. Do you guys know what dusk means? Dusk is just when the sun's coming down and the stars are starting to come out and it's starting to get kind of dark, but not completely yet. Like children everywhere, the children had a favorite story, and like grandparents everywhere, the grandfather never tired of telling it. That night was a perfect night for that story. As they looked up at the evening sky, just beginning to fill with its bright, shiny stars, the children began to chant, Papi, ¿cuántos estrellas en el cielo? Papi, how many stars are in the sky? How many stars do you guys think are in the sky? Ooh. Papi gazed lovingly at each of his grandchildren and asked them, ¿Cuántos piensas tú? How many do you think? Carlos raised his arms to the starry darkness, saying, There must be a zillion. Zillion's a pretty big number, isn't it? I don't know if I could even count to a zillion. That's a lot. The grandfather laughed heartily. Well, mijos, that is pretty close. Maybe we'd better count them. But first I have to tell you the story about the stars and why they are in the sky. And knowing the story was about to begin, the children pulled themselves even closer to the grandfather. Ariana nestled comfortably in his lap, while the others leaned against his legs. So you see how the kids are getting in and settling down for a story. Why do you guys think the stars are in the sky? What do you think would be the reason? Let's find out what he says. Just as he had countless times before, Papi gazed up toward the stars and pointed his weathered finger. You see, mijos, every time a child is born, a new star is added to the sky, and that star shines forever for the child. That is why there are so many bright, shining stars. Every child is a gift from the universe, and each star tells the story of a child's life. As they listened, the children dreamily searched the starry sky, imagining all the children in the world, and secretly they tried to find the stars that were theirs, the bright stars telling the stories of their lives. Their grandfather's soothing voice continued, If you look around, you can imagine that the stars make pictures. We can tell stories about the pictures. Since tonight is a fall night, we see the fall animals. Over there is a bear that once chased your father in the forest. So if you see here, you can see the bear in his outline there. Can you see the ladle toward the back of the bear? It tells the story of the delicious stew your mother makes for you. So ladle is kind of a different word. A ladle is like a big spoon you use for dipping up soup. Over there is a lizard like the one I once caught by the water pond. You see that? See how it kind of looks like a lizard? Kind of do the outline outside so you can see what you might want to see. And through the middle of it all runs the bright starry path of the Milky Way, leading you back home if you ever get lost. See all the bright stars? Knowing that their favorite part of the story was nearing, the children repeated their chant. Papi, ¿cuántas estrellas hay en el cielo? Papi, how many stars are in the sky? Patiently, the grandfather began. Well, let's count them. Ariana, ¿cuántas? You count. So how many do you think they're going to be? You think they're going to count them? Sweet Ariana looked at the sky with steady eyes and proudly proclaimed, Hi, una! Look, a big one. See, Ariana is pointing towards a big one. As the other children smiled, the grandfather lovingly answered, Yes, Ariana, you are right. There is one big star in the sky. Does anyone else want to count the stars in the sky? Papi asked. Carlos answered, I'm learning to count in school. Let me count. Una estrellas, dos estrellas, tres estrellas, cuatro estrellas, cinco estrellas, seis estrellas, siete estrellas, ocho estrellas, nueve estrellas, 10 estrellas. With a deep laugh, the grandfather said, Yes, Carlos, there are 10 stars in the sky. But if we keep counting like that, we will never get to bed. Maria, do you want to count? Maria counted carefully. I see uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Shall I keep counting, Papi? Chuckling softly, the grandfather said, Well, what do you think, children? Should Maria keep counting? But the children knew that their grandfather had finally reached their favorite part. Together they shouted, Papi, ¿cuánto tú? Dinos cuántos estrellas hay en el cielo. Papi, you count. You tell us how many stars are in the sky. With his calm voice, the grandfather said, Mijos, look at the stars in this night sky. All my life I have been counting the stars in the sky, and now I finally know that there are 50 estrellas in the sky. The children howled with delight. 50? ¿E más de 50? 50? There are more than 50? And just as he had countless other times before, the grandfather shook his head, saying, No, not the number 50, which does mean 50, but the words sin cuanta, which means infinity. That means there are so many stars you can't count them all. Your lives are like that too. There are so many things you can do or be. You can't count them all, just like you can't count all the stars. There are no limits. There are so many stars, you can't count them all. There's no limits. It's a lot of stars. As he put his grandchildren to bed, the grandfather sang a lullaby to them. He sang it in Spanish just as he had heard it sung when he was a child. And I do not know enough of these words to sing it. Otherwise, I would totally sing the song for you. Later, snugly tucked into their beds, the children thought of their grandfather's story and all the beautiful stars in the sky. And as they fell asleep, they dreamed of the many adventures their lives could hold. Adventures sin cuanta. Adventures infinity. So this was a little bit of a different story. We talked about the stars and counting them, and we ended up finding out that there are a lot of stars in the sky. So I want you guys to go through and see what else you can count. How many things are there out there that you can count? You could count leaves, you could count rocks, you can count cups in the house, you can count your toys. And I want you guys to let me know how high you end up counting and what you end up counting. And maybe you have an infinity number of toys. And just like in the story, there's an infinity number of possibilities of who you can be and what you can grow up to be. You guys have a really good day, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Bye-bye.